Bride pushes groom into the pool on wedding day, and his reaction surprises everyone. Alison felt the weight of her soaking wet wedding dress as she watched Trevor emerge from the pool with a smile on his face. All the guests were frozen, some still holding their champagne glasses in the air, others pointing their phones at the surreal scene that had just unfolded. That's when Trevor started clapping, still in the water, and Alison felt the world spin. "You finally did it," he shouted, his voice echoing through the banquet hall of the mountain resort in the Catskills. "I've been waiting 3 years for this moment, Alison. 3 years waiting for you to stop pretending to be perfect." Elizabeth, Alison's mother, dropped her designer handbag and ran toward her daughter. "What does this mean? Alison, what have you done?" Her high heels clicked against the marble floor as she tried to process the scene. On the other side, Margaret, Trevor's mother, remained seated, shaking her head as if she had expected this. "Mum, stay out of it," Alison replied, but her voice trembled. She didn't fully understand why she had done it either. It had all started minutes earlier, when Chloe, her younger sister, whispered something in her ear during the waltz. Something about seeing Trevor the night before. Trevor climbed out of the pool, his black suit clinging to his body, his shoes squelching with every step. The waiters exchanged glances, unsure whether to offer towels or keep serving the appetizers. The bandleader had stopped the music mid-smooth jazz, and now the silence was broken only by the sound of water dripping onto the floor. "You want to know why I'm happy?" Trevor grabbed the microphone from the master of ceremonies. "Because for 3 years, I've watched you repress every real emotion. 3 years, Alison. You never yelled at me, never really cried, never just been yourself." Gregory, Alison's father and owner of one of the largest construction conglomerates in New York City, stood up from the head table. "Son, you're upsetting my daughter. I suggest you—" "Mr. Gregory, with all due respect, you don't know your daughter," Trevor interrupted. "None of you know her. Did you know she cries in the bathroom? That she's been taking anxiety medication since she was 17? That in 3 years of dating, she never once said, 'I love you,' without me asking first?" Alison felt her legs go weak. How did he know about the medication? She had always been so careful. She looked at her mother, who looked like she'd been slapped. Elizabeth had always demanded perfection, in school grades, in choosing law school, in posture, in everything. "Alison, is this true?" Elizabeth asked, but her daughter couldn't answer. The tears she had held back throughout the entire ceremony finally began to fall. Margaret stood up for the first time. She was a simple woman, owner of a small bakery in downtown the Catskills, who had always felt out of place in that world of designer dresses and decorations that cost more than her car. "Son, that's enough. You're humiliating her." "Humiliating?" Trevor laughed, but it wasn't a happy laugh. "Mum, I love this woman more than my own life, but she's built so many walls around herself that I can't reach her anymore. You know what she told me last night? That our wedding would be perfect because we work well together. Work well together, like we're some kind of company." Chloe approached Alison. At 23, she was the opposite of her sister, spontaneous, emotional, imperfect. "Sis, tell him what I saw." "What did you see, Chloe?" Trevor turned to his sister-in-law. "What could be worse than living with someone who's afraid to be herself?" Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, feel free to hit like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot, since we're just starting out. Now, continuing, I saw you with Samantha last night. In the hotel bar. You two were too close. Chloe spoke quietly, but in the silence of the ballroom, everyone heard. A murmur rippled through the guests. Samantha was the name no one mentioned. Trevor's ex-girlfriend, his high school sweetheart, who had left for England 5 years ago to get her doctorate. "Samantha?" Alison finally found her voice. "Samantha is here?" "She came back last week," Trevor admitted. "She came for the wedding. She's my friend, Alison, just my friend." "A friend you loved for 10 years, Alison exploded. "A friend you wanted to marry. A friend who left me," Trevor finished, "who chose her career over me, who broke my heart into a million pieces. Yes, Alison, that's Samantha. And you know what we talked about yesterday about you, about how nervous I was to get married, about how I was afraid you'd never truly love me. Blake, Trevor's best man and friend since high school, stepped closer. Trev, man, don't do this. Not here, not like this. Then when, Blake? When will she stop pretending? When will we stop playing house? Trevor was crying now, and seeing a 32-year-old man cry like that broke the hearts of many there. Elizabeth pulled Alison by the arm. Let's go. You don't have to go through this. No! Alison pulled away. He's right, Mom. He's absolutely right. I've been pretending since forever. Pretending everything's fine, pretending I'm strong, pretending I don't need anyone. I raised you to be strong, Elizabeth replied. I raised you not to depend on any man, not to be like who, Mom? Like Grandma, who put up with Grandpa cheating on her whole life. Like you, who pretends not to see that Dad has another family in Philadelphia. The silence that followed was deafening. Gregory turned as white as his daughter's dress. Elizabeth staggered, as if she'd been punched. The 300 guests collectively held their breath. Alison, Gregory thundered, what are you saying? The truth, Dad. For the first time in my life, the truth. I know about your business trips in Philadelphia. I know about Vanessa and the twins. I know you pay for their private school, that you spend Christmas there when you say you're in meetings. Trevor climbed down from the edge of the pool where he'd been sitting. Alison, no! She raised her hand. If we're going to tell truths, let's tell them all. You want to know why I pushed you away? Because I saw a message on your phone from the fertility clinic. You got tests done and didn't tell me. What tests? Margaret asked, confused. Trevor closed his eyes. Alison, I can explain. Explain what? That you lied to me. That you hid something so important. I had a vasectomy. The words came out like a whisper, but everyone heard. 5 years ago, before I met you. Elizabeth let out a cry. What? But the grandchildren. Alison always wanted to be a mother. I know. Trevor ran his hand through his wet hair. I was going to tell you. I swear I was. But every time I tried, you were so perfect, so in control, that I was afraid of losing you. You lost me the moment you decided to lie. Alison tore off her veil and threw it on the ground. All of you. Everyone lies. Dad lies to Mom. Mom lies to herself. You lie to me. Eleanor, Alison's 85-year-old grandmother, stood up with difficulty. May I speak? Grandma, please. Alison tried to protest. Silence, girl. All of you, the spoiled generation that doesn't know what real suffering is. You want to talk about lies? I lived 60 years with your grandfather, Alison. 60. And you know how many times he was honest with me? Maybe 5. But we built a family, raised children, faced poverty, illness, losses. That doesn't justify it, Eleanor. A voice came from the back of the ballroom. It was Samantha, blonde, tall, elegant in her navy blue dress. Sorry to intrude, but this romanticizing of suffering is exactly what perpetuates cycles of unhappiness. Samantha, please, Trevor asked. No, Trevor. She needs to hear this. Alison, Trevor got a vasectomy because his brother, Caleb, died of a rare genetic disease. Cystic fibrosis. Trevor has a 50% chance of carrying the gene. He didn't tell you because you never gave him space to be vulnerable. Caleb? Alison looked at Trevor. You never mentioned a brother. Margaret started crying. My boy. He was only 12 when he passed. Trevor was 17. He stayed by his side until the end. Trevor sat down on the floor, right there, by the pool. The groom in his soaked tuxedo, sitting on the Italian marble floor, looked like a lost child. He suffered so much, Alison, so much. And I promised I would never put a child through that. Alison felt her heart break. How did she not know? How in 3 years had he never shared this pain with her? But the vasectomy is reversible. Elizabeth tried to salvage something from the situation. Dr. Nathaniel, you're right here. You can confirm. The family doctor, embarrassed, nodded. Technically, yes, but the chances of success. This isn't about that, Alison exploded. It's about trust. It's about sharing your life, your pain, your fears. Brooke, Alison's maid of honor and friend since kindergarten, stepped closer. Alison, I'm sorry, but I have to say this. You're not easy either. Remember when you found out you were pregnant in college? You handled it all alone, didn't tell anyone, not even me. Pregnant? Trevor and Elizabeth spoke at the same time. Alison closed her eyes. One more secret. I was 21, it was a mistake. I handled it, it wasn't the right time. Did you have an abortion? Elizabeth was pale. Alison. A legal termination, Mom, within the law. And alone, because that's how you taught me to be. Strong, independent, not needing anyone. Gregory approached his wife. Elizabeth, maybe we should... Don't touch me, Elizabeth pulled away. You with your family in Philadelphia, Alison with your secrets, all of you. And you, Elizabeth, Eleanor intervened. Want me to tell them about your meetings with that personal trainer? You think I'm blind? Chaos erupted. Accusations flew from all sides. Cousins remembered old betrayals. Aunts revealed gossip kept for years. Friends took sides. The dream wedding had turned into an explosive family therapy session. Then a boy of about 8 approached Trevor. Dressed in a little suit, he looked scared by all the shouting. Uncle Trevor, are you okay? Alison recognized the boy from the photos in Trevor's apartment. Who is he? Dylan. Trevor hugged the boy. My godson. Son of my cousin who died last year. He lives with his grandmother, but I spend every Wednesday with him. Every Wednesday you said you had soccer with the guys, Alison realized. I didn't know if you'd understand. You always said you didn't have time for kids, that your career came first. Uncle, are you two still getting married? Dylan asked innocently. Grandma said I was getting an aunt. Trevor looked at Alison. Alison looked at Trevor. Between them, years of lies, half-truths, unshared fears, but also love. An imperfect, bruised, but real love. I don't know, Dylan. Trevor was honest. I don't know. Father Arthur, who had performed the ceremony hours earlier, approached. May I suggest something? How about everyone take a breather? Alison, Trevor, you just exchanged vows before God. Don't let anger... Father, with all due respect, Alison interrupted. Our vows were lies too, for better or worse. We don't even really know each other. Then get to know each other now, the priest insisted. Marriage isn't the end, it's the beginning. You can choose, separate now with bitterness and regret, or use this crisis to be reborn. Easy for you to say, Elizabeth was still furious. My daughter was tricked. And my son too, Margaret shot back. Alison hid just as much as he did. While the mothers argued, Trevor reached out his hand to Alison. Come here. Where? Trust me. For once, trust me. Alison hesitated. She looked around, her hysterical mother, her embarrassed father, the guests whispering, the waiters unsure what to do. Then she looked at Trevor. His brown eyes, which she had loved since their first meeting, were full of tears and hope. She took his hand. Trevor led her to the edge of the pool. Remember our first date? At Brooke's graduation party, you spilled wine on my dress. And instead of getting mad, you laughed. It was the first and only time I saw you truly laugh, without caring what anyone would think. I was drunk, Alison confessed. I know. And it was the only time you were 100% yourself with me. Until now. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, feel free to leave a like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing, Alison looked at the pool. The water was calm now, reflecting the lights from the ballroom. What are you suggesting? That we start over. Here, now. No lies, no masks, no fear. Trevor, don't be ridiculous. Elizabeth tried to approach, but Gregory held her back. Leave them, Elizabeth. For once in her life, let our daughter decide. Trevor took off his soaked jacket. Alison Sterling, I'm Trevor Dalton. I'm 32, I'm a vet. I lost my brother when I was a teenager, and it destroyed me. I got a vasectomy because I'm afraid of passing my defective gene on. I love dogs more than people. I cry at animated classics, and I sleep hugging a pillow because I'm scared of the dark. Oh, and I'm completely in love with a woman who pretends to be made of iron, but who I've seen cry watching a breakfast commercial. Alison laughed through her tears. You saw that? I did. And I thought it was beautiful because it was real. Alison took a deep breath. I'm Alison. I'm 29. I'm a lawyer because of family pressure. I wanted to be a teacher. I've been sneaking Xanax since college. I pretend to like smooth jazz, but I prefer country music. I eat chocolate in the office bathroom, and I was terrified when I found out I was pregnant at 21. I handled it alone because I don't know how to ask for help. And I'm in love with a man who keeps too many secrets but has the purest heart I've ever known. So, Trevor asked, so what? Shall we jump? Trevor, I'm wearing a wedding dress. So what? It's already ruined anyway. Let's ruin it for good. Alison looked at the dress. $15,000 of French lace and cultured pearls. 6 months of preparation. Any bride's dream dress. My mother is going to kill me. Probably. But you'll be yourself. Without thinking twice, Alison kicked off her designer heels. If I jump, do you promise me one thing? What? No more secrets. Ever again. I promise. And you? I promise to try. Being vulnerable isn't easy for me. Trying is a start. They stood hand in hand at the edge of the pool. 300 guests watched in silence. Elizabeth covered her face with her hands. Margaret smiled through tears. Dylan clapped excitedly. On 3, Trevor suggested. On 3. 1, 2, 3. They jumped together. The water was cold and the shock made Alison scream. When she surfaced, her carefully styled hair was ruined, her makeup was running, and the dress weighed like lead. She had never felt more free. You're beautiful, Trevor said. I look awful. You look real, that's different. They kissed right there in the middle of the pool, while the flashes from cell phones lit up the night. Some guests were applauding, others murmuring in shock. Dylan was the first to jump in too, followed by Blake, then Brooke, and soon dozens of people were in the pool, evening gowns and all. This is insane, Elizabeth shouted from the edge. It's life, Mom, Alison replied. For once, it's real life. Gregory approached his wife. Elizabeth, we need to talk about Philadelphia, about everything. Not now, Gregory. Then when? Another 30 years from now, when we're too old to start over. Elizabeth looked at her husband. 35 years of marriage, 3 daughters, a whole life of appearances. Do you love her, the other woman? No, I love you, I always have, but you closed yourself off so much after Alison was born. I felt alone. And you thought cheating on me was the solution? It wasn't. It didn't start as a betrayal. Vanessa was my secretary, you know, things just happened. Before I knew it, I had 2 kids and didn't know how to fix it. Kids, Elizabeth repeated. You have children with another woman. I do. And I'm not proud of it. But they exist, Elizabeth. They're as much my children as Alison and Chloe. Eleanor approached her daughter. Elizabeth, dear, life is too short for pride. You put up with it, Mom. Why should I? And you saw what I became, bitter, alone, full of regrets. Don't be like me. As the generations of women talked, in the pool, Alison and Trevor struggled to stay afloat in their heavy clothes. We need to get out of here before we drown. Trevor laughed. Wait. Alison held his face. About the vasectomy. Alison, can we talk about this later? No, no more later. Do you want to be a father? Trevor looked at Dylan, who was playing with other cousins in the shallow end. I do. But it doesn't have to be biological. There are so many kids who need a family. Adoption. Why not? Love doesn't need DNA. Alison smiled. Have you thought about this before? I've been thinking ever since Dylan became an orphan. His grandmother is 70, Alison. I don't know how much longer she can take care of him. You want to adopt Dylan? We could adopt him, if there's still an us after all this madness. Alison looked around. Half the guests were now in the pool, the other half filming everything. The most expensive wedding in the Catskills had turned into a giant collective aquatic therapy session. You know what? I think this is exactly what we needed. A pool? No. The truth. Even if it hurts, even if it destroys everything, it's better than living a lie. Father Arthur, the only one who kept his composure, picked up the microphone. Dear friends, what we witnessed today was not the end of a marriage. but perhaps its true beginning. Alison and Trevor discovered that love isn't perfection, it's acceptance. It's not hiding wounds, it's healing them together. "The father is right," someone shouted from the pool. It was Miles, Trevor's cousin. "Faith and I almost split last year because I hid that I lost my job. I pretended to go to work every day." "It's true," Faith confirmed. 6 months of lies. "When I found out, I thought about asking for a divorce. But we talked, we cried, and we started over." Soon other couples began sharing their stories. Forgiven betrayals, revealed secrets, overcome crises. The party hall had turned into a giant group marriage therapy session. Chloe helped her sister out of the pool. "Sis, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have told about Samantha like that." "No, Chloe, you did the right thing. Someone had to start telling the truth in this family." Elizabeth approached her daughters hesitantly. "Alison." "Mom, I don't want to fight. Not today." "Me neither. Just—" "I'm sorry. For everything. For the pressure, for the expectations, for teaching you that feeling is weakness." Alison hugged her mother, soaking her peach-colored dress. "We all make mistakes, Mom. All of us." Across the way, Trevor was talking to Samantha. "Thank you for telling me about Lucas." "You should have told her, Trev. She's your wife." "I know. I was scared." "Scared of what?" "That she'd see me as flawed, broken." Samantha shook her head. "You haven't changed at all, always selling yourself short. Alison loves you, Trevor. Anyone can see that. Even after all this, especially after this, you two were finally real with each other." Margaret approached with towels. "Son, you're going to catch pneumonia." "I'm fine, Mom." "No, you're not, but you will be." She looked over at Alison approaching. "You two will be fine." Alison arrived wrapped in a towel, her $15,000 dress probably ruined forever. "Margaret, I'm so sorry for the scene." "What scene, dear? That was a breakthrough. You all needed that for years." Dylan tugged at the hem of Alison's dress. "Aunt Alison, are you going to be my mum now?" Alison crouched down to his level. "Would you like that?" "Yes. Uncle Trev said maybe you'd adopt me. Is it true?" Alison looked at Trevor. "It's something we need to talk about calmly, Dylan. But it's a possibility." The boy hugged them both. "I promise I'll behave." "You don't have to promise that." Trevor ruffled his hair. "Being yourself is enough. We learned that today." The party continued in a way completely different from what was planned. The DJ, sensing the mood, swapped the sophisticated playlist for more upbeat songs. People danced in wet clothes, others borrowed shirts from the hotel. Formality gave way to authenticity. Gregory found Elizabeth in the hotel garden. "We need to talk." "I know. I'm going to end things with Faith. I should have done it years ago." "And the boys?" "I'll still be their father, but I want to try to save our marriage, Elizabeth, if you'll let me." Elizabeth looked at the man she'd shared more than 3 decades with. "I don't know if I can, Gregory. The betrayal, it hurts too much." "I know, and I understand if you want a divorce, but think about it. Our daughter just showed us that secrets destroy more than truths. Can we try again? With honesty this time?" "Therapy," Elizabeth said. "Individual and couples, and no more hiding anything." "Agreed." They stood in silence, watching the transformed party through the window. Alison and Trevor were dancing barefoot, still in their wet clothes, laughing like teenagers. "They're going to be fine," Elizabeth observed. "Better than us," Gregory agreed. "They learned early what took us decades to understand." Inside the hall, Brooke was giving an impromptu speech. "Everyone, I had a beautiful speech prepared about perfect love and happily ever after. But after what happened today, I threw it out. Because Alison and Trevor taught us something more important. True love isn't perfect. It's brave. Brave enough to show the scars, to admit the fears, to jump into a pool in a wedding dress." Everyone laughed and applauded. Alison stepped onto the small stage. "I want to apologize." "No apologies," someone shouted. "Okay, then I want to say thank you to all of you who stayed, who took part in this madness. Today I learned that pretending to be perfect is exhausting, and that being vulnerable, as scary as it is is liberating. Trevor joined her, and I learned that hiding our pain doesn't protect the ones we love. It just creates distance. Alison, I promise, from now on you'll know every part of me. Oh, the beautiful ones and the broken ones. And I promise to try. It won't be easy for me to be open, but I'll try every day. They kissed again, and this time the applause was genuine. It was no longer the rehearsed kiss of a perfect wedding, but the real kiss of two imperfect people choosing to love each other. Grandmother Eleanor asked for the microphone. I'm 85 years old. I've seen a lot in this life, but I've never seen so much courage all in one place as I have today. Alison, Trevor, you did in one day what most couples can't do in a lifetime. You were honest. That's worth more than any party. You're right, Mrs. Eleanor. It was the wedding photographer. And speaking of honesty, I have to confess, I've been photographing weddings for 15 years. I've never seen one more real than this. Can I show you? On the screen, he projected the photos he had taken. Alison crying, hidden in the bathroom before the ceremony. Trevor taking a deep breath before entering the church. Elizabeth obsessively adjusting every detail. Gregory on the phone, probably with the other family, but also Trevor looking at Alison with adoration during the vows. Alison genuinely smiling when Dylan handed over the rings. The moment of the jump into the pool, with all faces frozen in surprise. And the last photos, people laughing, crying, hugging each other, being real. These are the photos that matter, the photographer said. Not the perfect poses, but the genuine moments. Alison was moved. Can we keep them all? Of course. Even the ones you'd normally ask me to delete, because they're the most beautiful ones. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, go ahead and hit like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing, Samantha approached the couple. I have to go. My flight is early tomorrow. Samantha, thank you, Alison said sincerely, for telling me about Caleb, for being honest. Trevor is special. He always has been. Take good care of him. Samantha hugged them both. And Trevor, stop being afraid. You're not your brother. You're not doomed to his suffering. After she left, Trevor was thoughtful. She's right. I spent so much time afraid of passing on the disease that I forgot to live. The reversal, Alison began. It's a possibility, but Alison, what if it doesn't work? What if our child? Then we'll love him just the same. And if medicine can't help, there's Dylan, and how many other children need love. Would you really consider adopting? After today? Trevor, I learned that family isn't about perfection or genetics. It's about choice. And I choose you. With vasectomy, without vasectomy, with biological or adopted kids, I choose our family, however it comes. They were interrupted by a commotion near the dessert table. Margaret was arguing with the wedding coordinator. I can't take the sweets, the coordinator protested. Young lady, it cost a fortune and half the guests left. I'm going to distribute them at my bakery tomorrow. Any problem? Mom, Trevor laughed. Leave the sweets. No way. Waste is a sin. Alison, dear, you don't mind, do you? Alison hugged her mother-in-law. Take it all, Mrs. Margaret. Actually, I think it's a great idea. See, my daughter-in-law is sensible. Everyone, whoever wants to help, pack. Soon there was an improvised assembly line packing sweets, savory snacks and cake. Elizabeth, at first horrified, ended up helping too. I always thought these weddings were a waste anyway, she admitted. Mom? You? Criticizing waste? Alison feigned surprise. Your grandmother is right. Maybe it's time to reconsider a lot of things. Around midnight, what was left of the party began to disperse. Many of the original 300 guests had left scandalized, but those who stayed seemed transformed by the experience. Best wedding ever, Blake declared, still dripping. When I get married, I want it just like this. Don't get married, Blake. His girlfriend, Livia, laughed. But you can copy the honesty part. Alison and Trevor sat at a table, exhausted. Her dress was unrecognizable. His suit shrunk from the water. Now what? Alison asked. Now? Honeymoon, I guess. Or do you want to cancel? St. Bart's? Yeah, 5-star, all-inclusive, paradise beaches. How about, Allison hesitated, how about we swap it for something simpler? A bed and breakfast by the coast, just the two of us, no luxury, no pressure. Seriously? Trevor, I realized today that I spend too much time worrying about appearances. I want to spend our honeymoon getting to know you for real, not posing for Instagram photos. Aspen, Trevor suggested, that little mountain resort we saw once? Perfect. Fireplace, wine, and conversations. Lots of conversations. Dylan appeared groggy, rubbing his eyes. Uncle, can I sleep at your place tonight? Grandma said it's okay. Trevor looked at Allison. She smiled. Of course you can, Gabby, but just tonight. We have to travel tomorrow. You're coming back? Always, Allison promised. And when we come back, we'll talk about you coming to live with us. What do you think? The boy hugged them both tightly. I think today was the best day ever. You know, Gabby, Trevor said. I think you're right. Gregory and Elizabeth approached. Allison, Trevor, Dad, you don't have to say anything, Allison interrupted. We all have our own processes. Just don't take 30 years like you did. Wise, Elizabeth said, touching her daughter's face. When did you grow up so much? Today, Mum. I think we all grew up today. As the ballroom was being taken down, the soaked bride and groom, the parents in crisis, the mother-in-law packing up desserts, and an orphaned boy dreaming of a family, something magical happened. The truth, however painful, had set everyone free. Father Arthur gave one last improvised blessing. May this couple, who started with masks and ended with truths, be an example. May their courage inspire others to live authentically. May their love, tested by the fire of honesty, emerge stronger. Amen. Amen, everyone replied. Allison picked up the bouquet that had miraculously survived. Should I still throw it? Why not? Trevor encouraged. She turned her back and tossed it. The bouquet flew high and landed in the pool. Everyone laughed. I think that's a sign, Brooke joked. The next wedding will be aquatic. As they left the hotel, still in their damp wedding clothes, Allison and Trevor stopped to look at the ballroom one last time. Upset chairs, drenched decorations, the remains of a wedding that started as a fantasy and ended as the truth. Regrets? Trevor asked. About what? The dream wedding that became a nightmare, or the nightmare that became reality? Both, Allison thought. You know, I think we needed this, all of us. We were slowly dying, pretending to be perfect. And now we live. Imperfect, broken in some places, but real. They walked to the car where they found an unexpected gift. Someone had decorated it with tin cans and a sign, "Newlyweds under reconstruction." Blake, Trevor recognized the handwriting. Our friends are crazy. Our families are crazy. We're crazy. Completely, Allison agreed, and I wouldn't change a thing. The next day, while the high society of the Catskills buzzed with gossip about the pool wedding, Allison and Trevor headed to Aspen for a new honeymoon. Not the planned one full of luxury and appearances, but a real one, where two strangers who loved each other would begin to truly get to know each other. Allison's phone rang. It was a message from Chloe with a photo, Margaret handing out wedding desserts at the bakery, with a sign reading, "Truth Sweets, courtesy of the most honest wedding in the Catskills." Your mom is amazing, Allison laughed. Our mom, Trevor corrected. She's ours now. And as the car drove up the mountain, leaving behind a destroyed wedding and carrying with it a rebuilt marriage, Allison thought about all the masks she still had to take off. It would be a long process, painful at times, but for the first time in 29 years, she was ready to try. The phone rang again. It was Elizabeth. Allison, your father and I scheduled therapy for Monday. I just wanted you to know. I'm happy, Mom, truly. And Allison? Thank you, forcing us all to face the truth. It wasn't on purpose. I know. The best lessons never are. Have a good honeymoon, sweetheart, and be happy. Your way, not mine. Alison hung up with tears in her eyes. Trevor took her hand. You okay? Everything's great. For the first time in a long time, everything's really great. 3 months later, on a Sunday afternoon, Alison and Trevor hosted a barbecue for their families at their apartment. There were no formalities, just people being themselves. Elizabeth and Gregory arrived together, still in therapy, still working on rebuilding, but together. Margaret brought homemade bread and Dylan, who now spent every weekend with them. How are the preparations going? Elizabeth asked as she helped Alison in the kitchen. For what? The adoption. Gregory mentioned you started the process. Oh, right. It takes time, but we're hopeful. The social worker loved the story of how we reconciled. Elizabeth laughed. I can imagine. The pool wedding has become legend around here. Mom, about that day. It was the best gift you could have given me, Elizabeth interrupted. It hurt, of course. Finding out about your father, facing my own mistakes, but it was necessary. I spent 52 years pretending. Enough. Outside, Trevor was teaching Dylan how to season the meat while Gregory and Margaret argued about football. It was a simple, everyday scene, but real. You know, Alison observed, I think this is the first time our families have come together without masks. It's liberating, isn't it? Elizabeth agreed. Exhausting sometimes, all this honesty. But liberating. The intercom buzzed. It was Brooke with her husband and their baby. Soon the apartment was filled with voices, laughter, a baby's cry. Real life, noisy and imperfect. During lunch, Dylan asked the question everyone was expecting. When can I call you Mom and Dad? Alison and Trevor exchanged glances. When the judge officially approves, Alison explained, but in your heart you already can. So can I start practicing? Sure. Dad, pass the salt, Dylan tested, looking at Trevor. The silence lasted a second before Trevor, emotional, handed over the salt shaker. Here you go, son. Margaret wiped a tear. Elizabeth squeezed Gregory's hand. It was a simple moment, but profound. By the way, Trevor cleared his throat, since we're all together and being honest, Alison and I have something to share. Oh my God, what now? Elizabeth joked. Are you going to jump off another pool? No, Mom. Alison laughed. It's just that Trevor had the vasectomy reversal. The silence was different now, full of anticipation. And? Margaret couldn't contain herself. And we're trying, Trevor finished. But no pressure. If it happens, it happens. If not, we have Dylan, and who knows, maybe others in the future. Siblings? Dylan got excited. I'm going to have siblings? Maybe. Alison ruffled his hair. One way or another, our family will grow. Gregory raised his glass. A toast, then, to family. Imperfect, complicated, but ours. To the truth, Elizabeth added, as much as it hurts sometimes. To courage, Margaret continued. To being who we are. To love, Trevor said, looking at Alison. That survives everything. To the pools, Dylan shouted, making everyone laugh. To the pools! Everyone clinked glasses. And there, in that ordinary apartment, with the grill smoking and neighbors complaining about the noise, a rebuilt family celebrated not perfection, but authenticity. Each one with their scars on display, their stories shared, their fears admitted. Alison looked around and thought back to the dream wedding she had planned, perfect in every detail, empty at its core. Then she looked at the present, messy, noisy, real. And she knew, without a shadow of a doubt, that she wouldn't trade this moment for all the perfect weddings in the world. Her phone buzzed. It was a social media notification. Someone had shared the pool wedding video again. 3 million views and climbing. The comments ranged from, "That's insane," to "The most real love I've ever seen." We've gone viral again, Alison showed Trevor. Better to go viral for being real than to be famous for being fake, Trevor philosophized. When did you get so wise? Since I married a woman brave enough to push me into a pool. They kissed, and this time there was no audience, no expectations, just two people who chose the difficult path of truth and discovered that, in the end, real love is infinitely worth more than manufactured perfection. 2 years later, Alison held little Harper in her arms, born after months of attempts and treatments. By her side, Dylan helped Trevor assemble the crib that would soon arrive for Wyatt, the 3-year-old boy they were in the process of adopting. 3 kids, Elizabeth remarked, amazed, when I had planned only perfect biological grandchildren. And you got an imperfect, wonderful family, Alison finished. You sure did. Gregory came in with Margaret, both carrying shopping bags for the new grandson's room. Living together had brought the unlikely grandparents closer, who now shared the joy of watching the family grow. Remember the wedding? Margaret commented. Who would have thought that disaster would be the start of so many good things? It wasn't a disaster, Trevor corrected. It was a rebirth. Dad! Dylan called out. The word came naturally now. Will Wyatt sleep in my room? Until we get a room just for him. Is that okay? Totally. I always wanted a brother. Now I'll have 2. Technically a sister and a brother, Alison corrected. Whatever. Family is family. And it really was. A family built not on secrets and appearances, but on truth and choice. A family that started with a push into a pool and blossomed in the courage to be authentically imperfect. End of story. Now tell us, what did you think of this story of love and truth? Would you have the courage to do what Alison did? Leave your comment and subscribe to the channel for more heartwarming stories.